Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Monday, November 25th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's NFL games, look ahead to tonight's games, the weekend's college football, college basketball, NBA, and NHL games, look ahead a little bit to tonight's games in college basketball, NBA, and the NHL. The Braves make another free agent signing, guess the lines for week 14 of college football, and my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start with the NFL. So many interesting games yesterday. A lot of them were close and interesting and entertaining. Some bad calls ruined them. We'll start with the Bucs over the Falcons, 35-22. One of my best bets of the weekend was the over in this game, and that hit. Tampa's 4-7, Atlanta's 3-8. Jameis Winston, 18-28, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Matt Ryan, 23-46, 271 yards, and an interception. Bills over the Broncos, 20-3. The Bills are 8-3, the Broncos are 3-8. Josh Allen, 15-25, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Brandon Allen reverted back to what he is, a bum. 10-25, 82 yards, and an interception. And let's see if the Broncos and anybody else know they didn't. Steelers over the Bengals, 16-10. Steelers 6-5, Bengals 0-11. Dalvin Hodges came in for the bench. Mason Rudolph. Hodges, 5 of 11, 118 yards and a touchdown. Rudolph, 8 of 16, 85 yards and a pick. And for Cincinnati, Ryan Finley, 12 of 26, 192 yards and a touchdown. Bears over the Giants, 19-14. Chicago 5-6, New York 2-9. Mitch Trubisky, 25 of 41, 278 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Daniel Jones, 21 of 36, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Browns over the Dolphins, 41-24. The Browns are 5-6. Miami is 2-9. Baker Mayfield, 24 of 34, 327 yards, and 3 touchdowns and a pick. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 21 of 39, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Saints over the Panthers, 34-31, in what was a classic on a game-winning field goal by Will Lutz. Saints 9-2, Carolina 5-6. Drew Brees 30 of 39, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Kyle Allen 23 of 36, 256 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jets over the Raiders 34-3. The Jets are 4-7, Oakland 6-5. Sam Darnold 20 of 29, 315 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr 15 of 27, 127 yards, and an interception. Seahawks over the Eagles, 17-9. Seattle 9-2, Philly 5-6. Russell Wilson, 13 of 25, 200 yards, a touchdown, the pick. Carson Wentz, 33 of 45, 256 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, and a bunch of fumbles. Redskins over the Lions, 19-16. The Redskins are 2-9. Detroit 3-7-1. Dwayne Haskins, 13 of 29, 156 yards, and a pick. Jeff Driscoll, 20 of 33, 207 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. Titans over the Jaguars, 42-20. Now we're in the 425 window. Tennessee 6-5. Jacksonville 4-7. Ryan Tannehill, 14 of 18, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nick Foles, 32 of 48 and 272 yards. Patriots over the Cowboys, 13-9. This was the most publicized game, perhaps, of the whole NFL season in terms of anticipation and whatnot. New England 10-1, Dallas 6-5. Tom Brady 17 of 37, 190 yards and a touchdown. Dak Prescott 19 of 33, 212 yards and a pick. This was a very sloppy game by both teams. A lot of missed field goals, a lot of poor coaching decisions, especially on the Dallas side. There is a lot of bad calls, including a tripping call on what would have gave the Cowboys a first down on a run by Ezekiel Elliott. And they called it back for tripping on Zach Martin. Meanwhile, Zach Martin didn't trip anybody. He just kicked his right foot out, which was one of the worst calls I've seen all season. 49ers over the Packers, 37-8. This was an impressive win for San Francisco. Really was a statement win for this team to prove that they're no fraud. San Francisco's 10-1, Green Bay 8-3. Jimmy Garoppolo, 14 of 20, 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers, 20 of 30, 304 yards and a touchdown. And then the backup quarterback came in at the end of the game, Boyle for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers' quarterback rating, by the way, 8.5. Yikes. And tonight you have a really good game between the Ravens and the Rams, 8:15, ESPN, Joe Tessitore, Booger McFarland, Lisa Salters on the call. The Ravens are giving 3.5 points. The over-under is 47.5. I think the Ravens will win this game by a score of 37-30, in which will be a really fun, entertaining shootout type of game. But my play for this game is over 47.5. These teams are going to score and score and score. I think that the Rams offense will get into a little bit of a groove. I've seen the Raven defense have leaks before, and I could see their defense kind of leaking here, and the best player on the field is obviously Lamar Jackson, so he'll lead the Ravens to a really big win on Monday Night Football to keep their winning streak alive. Now I'm going to go to college football. Just going to go through the results and the records. Some upsets, some blowouts, some surprises. So without further ado, here we go. Friday night, Wyoming over Colorado State, 17-7. Wyoming 7-4, Colorado State 4-7. Saturday, number 2 Ohio State over number 8 Penn State, 28-17. Penn State covered. They dropped the 9-2. Ohio State 11-0. Number 5 Alabama over Western Carolina, 66-3. So Alabama hit the over by themselves. They're 10-1. Western Carolina's 3-9. Auburn over Samford, 52-0. The number 15 team in the country is 8-3. Samford is 5-7. Number 10 Minnesota over Northwestern, 38-22. Minnesota 10-1. Northwestern 2-9. That was one of my best 5, and that cashed. Number 17 Iowa over Illinois, 19-10. Iowa is 8-3. Illinois 6-5. Number 21 Oklahoma State over West Virginia, 20-13. So I probably should have taken West Virginia when they were getting 7, or else I would have pushed. Oklahoma State 8-3. West Virginia 4-7. BYU over UMass 56-24. BYU 7-4. UMass 1-11. UCF over Tulane 34-31. UCF 8-3. Tulane 6-5. Kent State over Ball State 41-38. Kent State 5-6. Ball State 4-7. Eastern Carolina over UConn 31-24. East Carolina 4-7. UConn 2-9. Virginia over Liberty 55-27. Virginia 8-3. Liberty 6-5. Michigan State over Rutgers 27-0. Michigan State 5-6. Rutgers 2-9. So Sparty went away from bowl eligibility. Georgia State over South Alabama 28-15. Georgia State 7-4. USA 1-10. Air Force over New Mexico 44-22. Air Force 9-4. New Mexico 2-9. Number 16 Notre Dame over Boston College 40-7. Notre Dame 9-2. Boston College 5-6. Notre Dame playing a lot better since that bad loss to Michigan. Number 24 Appalachian State over Texas State 35-13. App State 10-1. Texas State 3-8. Arkansas State over Georgia Southern 38-33. Ark State 7-4. Georgia Southern 6-5. Number 4 Georgia over Texas A&M 19-13. This was one of my best 5. It lost. Georgia 10-1. A&M 7-4. Number 15 Michigan over Indiana 39-14. Michigan 9-2. Indiana 7-4. So a good win for Jim Harbaugh, not a trap game. You avoided it. Number 14 Baylor over Texas 24-10. Baylor 10-1. Texas 6-5. Very disappointing season for Texas. Number 23 USC over UCLA 52-35. USC 8-4. UCLA 4-7. Navy over number 25 SMU 35-28. Navy 8-2. SMU 9-2. North Carolina over Mercer 56-7. UNC 5-6. Mercer 4-8. Virginia Tech over Pitt 28-0. Va-Tech 8-3. Pitt 7-4. Charlotte over Marshall 24-13. Charlotte 6-5. Marshall 7-4. UAB over Louisiana Tech 20-14. UAB 8-3. La Tech 8-3. Rice over North Texas 20-14. Rice 2-9. Back-to-back wins for them. North Texas 4-7 eliminated from bowl contention. Western Kentucky over Southern Miss 28-10. Western Kentucky 7-4. Southern Miss 7-4. Nebraska over Maryland 54-7. Nebraska 5-6. Maryland 3-8. So Nebraska's a win away from bowl eligibility. Vandy over East Tennessee State 38-0. Vandy 3-8. East Tennessee State 3-9. Kentucky over Tennessee Martin 50-7. Kentucky 6-5. Tennessee Martin 7-5. Number 12, Wisconsin over Purdue, 45-24. Wisconsin 9-2, Purdue 4-7. Number 18, Memphis over USF, 49-10. Memphis 10-1, USF 4-7. New Mexico State over UTEP, 44-35. New Mexico State 2-9, UTEP 1-10. Cal over Stanford, 24-20. Cal 6-5, Stanford 4-7. Louisville over Syracuse, 56-34. Louisville 7-4, Syracuse 4-7. UNLV over San Jose State, 38-35. UNLV 38, or 3-8, I should say. San Jose State 4-7, eliminated from bowl contention. Middle Tennessee over Old Dominion, 38-10, or 38-17, my bad. Middle Tennessee 4-7, Old Dominion 1-10. UL Monroe over Coastal Carolina, 45-42. UL Monroe 5-6, Coastal 4-7, so UL Monroe will win away. Louisiana over Troy 53-3. UL Lafayette 9-2. Troy 5-6. So UL Lafayette, the quietest 9-2 in the country. FAU over UTSA 40-26. FAU 8-3. UTSA 4-7. Number 1 LSU over Arkansas 56-20. LSU 11-0. Arkansas 2-9. Number 19 Cincinnati over Temple 15-13. Cincinnati 10-1. Temple 7-4. Florida International upsets Miami 30-24. FIU 6-5. They're bowl eligible. Miami 6-5. So that's a terrible loss for Manny Diaz and company. Terrible. Kansas State over Texas Tech 30-27. Kansas State 7-4. Texas Tech 4-7. Arizona State upsets number 6 Oregon 31-28. Arizona State 6-5. Oregon 9-2. Houston over Tulsa 24-14. Houston 4-7, Tulsa 3-8. Mississippi State over Abilene Christian 45-7. Mississippi State 5-6, Abilene Christian 5-7. Tennessee over Mizzou 24-20. Tennessee 6-5, Mizzou 5-6. Wake over Duke 39-27. Wake 8-3, Duke 4-7. Number 9 Oklahoma over TCU 28-24. Oklahoma 10-1, TCU 5-6. Washington State over Oregon State 54-53. Washington State 6-5. Oregon State 5-6. So Oregon State's a win away from bowl eligibility. Number 7 Utah over Arizona 35-7. Utah 10-1. Arizona 4-7. Colorado over Washington 20-14. Colorado 5-6. Washington 6-5. Number 20 Boise State over Utah State 56-21. Boise 10-1. Utah State 6-5. Nevada over Fresno State 35-28. Nevada 7-4, Fresno 4-7. Hawaii over San Diego State 14-11. Hawaii 8-4, San Diego State 8-3. Alrighty. Now we'll move on to college basketball from the weekend. I'm just going to go through results from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, without further ado, here we go. Liberty over Morgan State, 89-48. NCAT over Nichols, 66-54. Tulane over Middle Tennessee, 86-74. Florida over Miami, 78-58. Bethune-Cookman over Incarnate Word, 83-58. Valpo over Grand Canyon, 78-74. Cleveland State over UNC Wilmington, 47-46. Rice over Milwaukee, 75-69. Eastern Michigan over UMBC, 62-45. Missouri State over St. Joe's, 71-69. Number 17 Villanova over Mississippi State, 83-76. Eastern Illinois over St. Francis, Illinois, 87-47. Nevada over Fordham, 74-60. FIU over Eastern Kentucky, 89-70. Indiana State over Loyola Marymount, 72-60. Rhode Island over North Texas, 60-47. Number 22 Texas over Cal, 62-45. Number 24 Baylor over Coastal Carolina, 77-65. Sacred Heart over Presbyterian, 83-57. UMKC over George Washington, 74-68. Cincinnati over Illinois State, 66-65. Iona over Stetson, 60-55. Duquesne over Air Force, 69-63. Number 1 Duke over Georgetown, 81-73. Number 6 Maryland over George Mason, 86-63. Number 9 Kentucky over Mount St. Mary's, 82-62. Number 10 Ohio State over Purdue Fort Wayne, 85-46. Richmond over McNeese, 87-57. South Carolina over Gardner-Webb, 74-69. Bradley over Radford, 70-61. Michigan over Houston Baptist, 111-68. Butler over Morehead State, 68-50. Lipscomb over Navy, 65-61. Merrimack over Leslie, 110-16. Wow, almost by 100 there. Buffalo over Towson, 76-73. West Virginia over BC, 69-44. Furman over Columbia International, 90-45. Number 15, Utah State over LSU, 80-78. Harvard over Holy Cross, 82-74. Georgia State over Prairie View, 83-74. Southeast Missouri State over Missouri S&T, 72-71. Louisiana Tech over North Alabama, 82-61. Wake over Davidson, 82-70. That surprised me a lot. Davidson was my best play for Friday night. Oops. Utah over Ohio, 80-66. Quinnipiac over Albany, 86-69. Jackson State over Southern New Orleans, 72-53. Nebraska over Southern, 93-86 in overtime. UTSA over Wiley, 90-68. Oklahoma State over Western Michigan, 70-63. Northwestern over Norfolk State, 70-59. Bowling Green over Western Kentucky, 77-75. East Carolina over Evansville, 85-68. Monmouth over Kennesaw State, 71-40. Number 11, Oregon over Houston, 78-66. Arkansas over South Dakota, 77-56. Creighton over Cal Poly, 86-70. Vandy over SC State, 97-60. Number 8, Xavier over UConn, 75-74 in double overtime. Long Beach State over Fresno Pacific, 93-62. San Diego State over Long Island, 81-64. Santa Clara over Idaho State, 78-65. UC Baptist over Central Arkansas, 104-98 in overtime. Number 25, Washington over Montana, 73-56. And Temple over USC, 70-61. All right, Saturday. Incarnate Word over St. Francis, Illinois, 68-44. Milwaukee over Morgan State, 62-47. Southern Utah over Charleston Southern, 80-45. Number 13, Seton Hall over Florida A&M, 87-51. DePaul over BC, 72-67. Syracuse over Bucknell, 97-46. Virginia over UMass, 58-46. Number 16, Memphis over Ole Miss, 87-86. UNC Wilmington over FIU, 66-63. Bethune-Cookman over Eastern Illinois, 66-63. NC State over Little Rock, 74-58. Youngstown State over South Carolina Upstate, 66-61. Eastern Washington over High Point, 90-74. Florida State over St. Francis, Pennsylvania, 80-65. East Tennessee State over Delaware State, 98-66. Central Michigan over Trinity, 106-60. Toledo over Northwest Ohio, 100-41. James Madison over New Hampshire, 78-71. UCF over Charleston, 72-71. Marquette over Robert Morris, 66-62. George Washington over Evansville, 78-70. Arizona State over St. John's, 80-67. Canisius over St. Bonaventure, 61-57. Oregon State over Grambling, 80-58. Wichita State over Oral Roberts, 68-59. Stony Brook over Wagner, 87-84 in overtime. Northern Illinois over SIU Edwardsville, 68-64. Sanford over Troy, 72-60. Fordham over Grand Canyon, 70-58. Cleveland State over Eastern Kentucky, 65-51. Ball State over Howard, 100-69. Portland over UC Davis, 72-62. UC Santa Barbara over Menlo, 88-69. Manhattan over Elan, 68-9-64. Albany over Sacred Heart, 72-65. Binghamton over Army, 88-73. Penn State over Yale, 58-56. Penn over Providence, 81-75. Brown over NJIT, 79-63. A&M Corpus Christi over St. Thomas, Texas, 69-59. Mercer over UIC, 72-68. Western Kentucky over Illinois State, 83-69. Rider over Columbia, 87-63. St. Louis over Belmont, 60-55. Liberty over Rice, 71-59. Iona over Kennesaw State, 75-52. Utah Valley over North Dakota State, 68-64. UC Riverside over Denver, 73-49. Quinnipiac over Presbyterian, 73-64. Number 21, VC over Florida Gulf Coast, 78-48. Coppin State over Cornell, 68-66 in overtime. La Citadel over Marist, 79-75. Boise over Pacific, 82-76 in triple overtime. Texas Southern over Northern Kentucky, 98-96 in double overtime. Vermont over Central Connecticut State, 81-49. Prairie View over Central Arkansas, 78-72 in overtime. Number 8, Gonzaga over Cal State Bakersfield, 77-49. Purdue over Jacksonville State, 81-49. Austin P over Southeast Louisiana, 81-60. Western Illinois over Central Christian College, 113-62. San Francisco over Sam Houston State, 90-81. UMKC over East Carolina, 74-68. Illinois over Hampton, 120-71. St. Mary's over Lehigh, 77-66. Stetson over Monmouth, 63-55. Portland State over San Jose State, 91-76. Idaho over Walla Walla 100-50. Sacramento State over Pepperdine 77-72. SMU over UNLV 72-68. And Georgia State over Cal Baptist 69-60. Yesterday, Tulane over Utah 65-61. That was a surprise. Evansville over Morgan State 115-112 in triple overtime. Charleston Southern over Delaware State 71-61. Eastern Michigan over NCAA 58-54. Number 7 Virginia over Arizona State 48-45. Lafayette over Fairleigh Dickinson 80-75. Bethune-Cookman over St. Francis, Illinois 74-70. Albany over Presbyterian 65-60. Mississippi State over Coastal Carolina 81-56. UConn over Miami 80-55. That was a surprise. Number 12 Texas Tech over Long Island 96-66. Texas Arlington over Arkansas Tech 85-68. St. Peter's over Caldwell 88-67. East Tennessee State over Southern Utah 70-58. Creighton over North Florida 76-67. Western Carolina over Stetson 70-64. Merrimack over Hartford 62-58. LSU over Rhode Island 96-83. George Washington over Milwaukee 66-63. Maine over Maine Maritime Academy 90-50. UNC Greensboro over VMI 74-63. Southern Miss over William and Carey 83-64. South Dakota State over Mississippi Valley State 84-54. Detroit Mercy over UC Irvine 86-74. Purdue Fort Wayne over Ohio Northern 81-47. Eastern Illinois over Incarnate Word 72-63. Buffalo over Missouri State 75-74. Sacred Heart over Quinnipiac 97-80. St. John's over UMass 78-63. Indiana State over Air Force 84-74. Number 24 Villanova over number 17 Villanova 87-78. Colgate over Cal State Northridge 64-56. Iowa over Cal Poly 85-59. Rice over East Carolina 77-69. Nevada over Valpo 89-59. Or 84-59, my bad. Number 2 Louisville over Akron 82-76. That was closer than I expected. Number 9 Kentucky over Lamar 81-56. Columbia over Central Connecticut State 82-52. Towson over St. Joe's 76-64. Utah State over North Texas 68-59. Utah State number 15, obviously. Duquesne over Loyola Marymount 71-50. Minnesota over North Dakota 79-56. Ohio over Middle Tennessee 75-63. Bowling Green over Cincinnati 91-84 in overtime. Number 23 Colorado over Wyoming 56-41. Hofstra over Cal State Fullerton 79-57. Liberty over UMKC 62-49. Number 14 Arizona over Long Beach State 104-67. Rider over Vermont 72-67. Florida over number 18 Xavier 70-65. Nichols over UMBC 82-72. Hawaii over New Orleans 79-71. Number 25 Washington over San Diego 88-69. And Clemson over TCU 62-60 in overtime. A couple finals already. Some of these were tournament games. Mexico State over Colorado State 78-70 in overtime. South Alabama over Northeastern 74-62. Drexel over Rosemont 84-51. Yale over Western Michigan 73-51. Second half, Grand Canyon and Illinois State. First half, Loyola Chicago, South Florida, and Miami of Ohio and Drake. About to get underway on ESPNU, Seattle and Bucknell. 2:30 ESPN2, Georgia and Dayton from Maui. I'm going to take Georgia plus the 3 of the best player on the court in Anthony Edwards. Both these teams are undefeated, so it should be a very interesting game. So, give me Georgia plus the 3, and I think they win the game outright. Paradise Jam, 3:15, Western Kentucky and Fordham. 4 o'clock from Vegas, Louisiana, and Detroit. 5 o'clock, Maui. Number 3, Michigan State and Virginia Tech. Michigan State is laying 13.5. I'm going to take Virginia Tech plus the points. I just think this is a closer than expected game. Mike Young's team, I think, will be prepared. I just think that they'll fall inside the number. So, give me Sparty 77-66, in what should be a interesting game from a number standpoint. But I think that Virginia Tech sneaks in there, but Michigan State obviously wins on the court. George Mason, Old Dominion. Weber State, Wright State. 5:30, Loyola Maryland and the IUPUI. 5:45, Valpo, Cincinnati. 6 o'clock, Pitt and Kansas State. Kansas State's favored by 3. I think that line is too short. I like Kansas State. I think they're better than Pitt. 6:30 BTN, Kent State, number 10, Ohio State. Buckeyes should have no issue there. 7 o'clock SEC Network, Chattanooga, number 17, Tennessee. Tennessee should have no issue there. Alabama State, number 20, VCU. VCU should have no issue there. Chicago State, Florida State. ESPNU, Butler, and Missouri. Missouri's favored by 1. This game is being played at the Sprint Center, so it's a neutral site game, but somewhat of a home court for Missouri. So I'm going to take the Tigers here to win and hand Butler their first loss of the season. ESPN2, the Legends Classic, Wisconsin and Richmond. Wisconsin's giving 6. This game is being played in Brooklyn and Barclays Center. I think that Richmond's improved, but they're not as good as Wisconsin, so I expect Wisconsin to cover the 6 and win the game. Lipscomb, Tennessee Tech, Prefer and Winthrop, Midway, Northern Kentucky, Arkansas, and Georgia Tech. 7:30 Washington State and Nebraska from the Cayman Islands Classic. Nebraska's a 1-point favorite. Being played in the Cayman Islands, obviously. I'm going to take Nebraska to cover the -1. They have the coaching advantage. Although Washington State's new coach is pretty good too, but they have 2 losses already. This team stinks. So Nebraska has 2 bye losses too, but I just think that Nebraska's the better team. So give me Nebraska, although I won't be surprised if Wazoo wins. LaSalle and Murray State, 8 o'clock. Southeast Louisiana and Vandy. Paradise Gem, Nevada. Bowling Green, Nevada's giving 2.5. I think that Bowling Green will actually win the game outright as a 2.5-point underdog. Southern and Omaha. Cal State, Northridge, and Green Bay. Oakland, Northern Illinois. Abilene Christian, Texas State. South Carolina State, Austin Peay. Trey and Bama A&M. Southwest Christian and Oral Roberts. A&M International and Texas Rio Grande. Jacksonville, Campbell. Champions Christians against Arkansas Pine Bluff at 8:30. Bradley, Northwestern. Bradley's giving 3.5. This game is being played in Fort Myers. Yeah, Bradley is giving points. So Northwestern is a dog against an MVC school. Like, who saw that coming? I'm going to take Bradley minus the points, although I don't feel good about it. Big Ten Network, 8:30, Louisiana Tech and Indiana. From Maui, number 4, Kansas and Chaminade. Texas Southern, Montana, 9:30 ESPN News. Number 18, Auburn in New Mexico. From the Barclays Center, Auburn's favored by 8.5. I think they win and cover. They're the better team. New Mexico's been solid this year, but they're not on the same level as Auburn. So give me Auburn to cover the number. They'll win by double digits. ESPN2 at 9:30. I have Oklahoma and Stanford. Oklahoma's giving 4.5. This game's being played at the Sprint Center. I think this is going to be a home court for Oklahoma. It's closer to them than Stanford. This line's short, so give me the Sooners to perhaps win this one by double digits. They are the better team. Tennessee State, San Diego State. And by the way, Stanford's 6-0, so you got to give Stanford credit where credit's due for being undefeated. Same with Oklahoma, because I thought Oklahoma was going to lose to Oregon State, but I was wrong about that. I just think Oklahoma's better than Stanford and much better than the point spread suggests. So give me the Sooners minus the 4.5 to remain undefeated to hand Stanford their first loss. So back to the 10 o'clock game. Tennessee State, San Diego State, and then 11:30 from Maui, BYU, and UCLA. UCLA's giving 1.5. I think they win. I think they cover that easily. I think they win by like 7 or 8 points. Mick Cronin's a better coach, so give me UCLA minus the points to win in Maui for this first game in Maui for them. Okay, now we'll talk NBA. We're going to go over the weekend's results and look ahead to tonight's slate. Pistons over the Hawks, 128-103. Wizards over the Hornets, 125-118. Nets over the Kings, 116-97. Heat over the Bulls, 116-108. Lakers over the Thunder, 130-127. 76ers over the Spurs, 115-104. Mavericks over the Cavs, 143-101. Jazz over the Warriors, 113-109. Nuggets over the Celtics, 96-92. Clippers over the Rockets, 122-119. So that was Friday night. Saturday. Suns over the Timberwolves, 100-98. Bulls over the Hornets, 116-115. Pacers over the Magic, 111-106. Spurs over the Knicks, 111-104 to end their long losing streak. Raptors over the Hawks, 119-116. 76ers over the Heat, 113-86, and Jimmy Butler's return to Philly where he got immensely booed. Cavs over the Trailblazers, 110-104. I don't think the Blazers have won a game since they acquired Melo. So the Cavs end their 6-game losing streak, but I believe Portland is still on one, if I'm not mistaken. Lakers over the Grizzlies, 109-108, and what was a very close call. John Morant kept Memphis in that one with his 26 points. Bucks over the Pistons, 104-90, and Jazz over the Pelicans, 128-120. Yesterday, Mavericks over the Rockets, 137-123. Another day, another triple-double for Luka Doncic. Nets over the Knicks, 103-101. Nets were without Kyrie and Karis LeVert. Knicks were without R.J. Barrett. Kings over the Wizards, 113-106. Nuggets over the Suns, 116-104. Clippers over the Pelicans, 134-109. Tonight's slate is bigger. 7 o'clock, the Nets at the Cavs. Magic at the Pistons. Grizzlies at the Pacers. 7:30, the Hornets at the Heat. The Kings at the Celtics. Timberwolves at the Hawks. Raptors host the 76ers. How is Philly -2 at Toronto? How in the world? 8 o'clock, Trailblazers Bulls. 8 o'clock, NBA TV. Jazz at the Bucks. 8:30, Lakers at the Spurs. 10:30, NBA TV. Thunder at the Warriors. I just gave away my pick. Raptors are getting 2 at home. Why are they a home underdog against Philly? Someone explain to me. Philly almost lost to the Knicks the other night. Like, are you kidding me? How are they favored in that game? That's a no-brainer. I mean, is Pascal Siakam hurt or something? Why is Toronto getting 2? I mean, Joel Embiid's back and Simmons is there. Like, I get it, but I'm sorry. Toronto should be favored by at least 2. I mean, the wrong team's favored. They got the number right, but the wrong team. Come on. Toronto's plus 112 on the money line. They're winning outright. The wrong team's favored in this game. That is the most messed up line of the whole season. So give me Toronto getting 2 at home. That crowd's going to be ruckus, and I think that they'll go out there and perform and prove to everybody that they are still the reigning NBA champion sans Kawhi Leonard not being there. And quite frankly, Philly hasn't been all that special. Not at all. So yeah, Raptors money line plus 112. They're getting 2 points at home. Now we're going to do NHL from the weekend. Going to go over Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday's slates and look ahead to tonight just like I did with the NBA and college basketball. Only 2 games on Friday night. Senators over the Rangers 4-1 and Penguins over the Devils 4-1. Saturday was the big slate. Canucks over the Caps 2-1 in the shootout. Flames over the Flyers 3-2 in the shootout. Coyotes over the Kings 3-2. Bruins over the Wild 5-4 in overtime. Lightning over the Ducks 6-2. Rangers over the Canadiens 6-5. Rangers came back from 4-0 down to win. Good bounce back win for them, by the way, after losing bad against Ottawa. Yikes. That was a bad loss, but coming back from 4-0 down in Montreal, a place where the Rangers have struggled mightily through the years. That's really a big win for them and a really, really bad loss for the Montreal Canadiens and Carey Price. Devils over the Red Wings 5-1. Hurricanes over the Panthers 4-2. Jets over the Blue Jackets 4-3. Maple Leafs over the Avalanche 5-3. Preds over the Blues 4-2. Stars over the Blackhawks 2-1 in the shootout. Oilers over the Golden Knights 4-2. Sharks over the Islanders 2-1 in overtime. Only 3 games yesterday. Sabres over the Panthers 5-2. Hurricanes over the Red Wings 2-0. And Oilers over the Coyotes 4-3 in a shootout. Big slate tonight, 7 o'clock. You have the Wild at the Rangers. How is Minnesota favored at the Rangers? Somebody explain that to me. I mean, I get it, no Mika Zibanejad, but regardless of Mika Zibanejad's status, the Rangers should be home favorites over Minnesota. Come on. Sabres, Lightning, Canucks, Flyers, Flames, Penguins, Senators, Blue Jackets, 8 o'clock Blues, Predators, 8:30 Golden Knights, Stars, 10 o'clock Islanders, Ducks, 10:30 Sharks, Kings. So if I had a hockey bet, I'd take the Rangers as a home dog. Flames is a nice underdog on the road. I could look into Ottawa. You can talk me into that one. They have more points than Columbus on the season. Ottawa's amazingly 500 on the year. I mean, their new coaching staff, led by DJ Smith, their new head coach, has done a fantastic job with the Senators this year. They're 500. .500 on the year. They have a lot to be proud of there in Ottawa. And then the Islanders are still rolling with that point streak. They lost in overtime the other day. Now they face the Ducks. They're favored. Vegas is a dog on the road. That's interesting. Well, Dallas has been hot. Nashville is favored at home. Weirdly enough, I kind of think the Blues can win outright as a dog as well. So maybe I'll parlay a couple dogs later in the NHL for myself. All right. Travis d'Arnaud was the latest free agent to sign. He signed with the Atlanta Braves, 2 years, $16 million. I did not include him on the predictions list because I kind of just forgot that he had a great year with the Rays last year after being a Mets prospect bust. And then they let him go. Dodgers picked him up. He was only there for like a game, and then he goes to the Rays and really starts to perform and take advantage of poor ALE's pitching, led by the Orioles pitching and the Blue Jays pitching, and really got himself a contract out of it. I'm not sure if this will end up working out for the Braves or not, but I think it's kind of an overpay, and he just had one good season. So I think he has a lot to prove with the Braves coming into the 2020 season to really prove himself to be a legit starting catcher in this league. And maybe it's just me because seeing him underachieve with the Mets. But it was just one great year at the Rays, and sometimes one great year can parlay you into a big contract or a nice contract, just like d'Arnaud did with himself. So, a very interesting signing for the Braves to go with their big relief pickup of Will Smith. They bring back Tyler Flowers. They bring back Nick Markakis. So they've been very busy to start what should be a very interesting offseason. Breaking news in college football. Tony Sanchez of UNLV has been relieved of his duties. He's 19-40 as the head coach there. It's funny because they actually won this weekend against San Jose State, and that couldn't even give Tony Sanchez another week. He was not good in his tenure there. He was a coach I had on the hot seat before the season. I think there's more coaches to lose their jobs from this conference. Maybe Mike Lobo of New Mexico, I think, is another coach on the hot seat. I think that there's a couple other ones to keep an eye out for. Some of them, I think, have saved their jobs this year, like Craig Bull of Wyoming and a couple guys like that. Air Force's coach obviously saved his job, maybe parlayed himself into another job. We'll see. But Tony Sanchez has been let go. I wonder where UNLV is going to go from here. They're probably going to go after some interesting names, maybe some hot assistants, maybe some hot FCS coaches. But the name that intrigues me the most in terms of a possible future head coach is Billy Napier of Louisiana. In year 2, obviously, with the Raging Cajuns, he's 9-2 this year. Could very well finish the year with 12 wins, if you count the regular season finale, a possible Sun Belt championship game against Appalachian State, and a bowl game. So he could very well have 12 wins. And he's somebody that's bounced around a little bit. He was the offensive coordinator at Arizona State in 2017. And then he was the wide receivers coach at Alabama for a couple years. And was an offensive analyst for Nick Saban in 2011. So, Billy Napier, I think, is someone to keep an eye on for UNLV. And then in terms of interesting FCS coaches, a name to keep an eye on is Matt Entz from North Dakota State. Granted, they just lost their coach last year, Chris Kielman, who went to Kansas State and who's done a fantastic job there. But I don't know if Entz would do it or not. Another one is John Stingelmeyer from South Dakota State, 23 years there. Northern Iowa was having a fantastic year in the MVC for football. Mark Farley, 19 years in his current stint, but 30th overall. Another interesting guy, in my opinion, is Brock Spack of Illinois State, who they're having a great year. They're number 6 in the FCS. Another interesting name that is intriguing is Kurt Cignetti of James Madison. He's in his first year, but they lost Mike Houston from last year, who went to East Carolina. Villanova's having a great year in the FCS. Mark Fournette is in year 3 there. Maybe he'll get a look. And in terms of hot coordinators, one to keep an eye on is somebody like Pete Golding of Alabama. Another hot name is certainly going to be Steve Ensminger of LSU, or Dave Aranda of LSU. And then obviously Dan Lanning of Georgia, as well as James Coley of Georgia. They're their coordinators. They work on their court or be smart. So those are just names to throw out there for possible replacements. We'll see if anybody I mentioned ends up getting the job. So that's always interesting when somebody I mentioned ends up getting a job. All right, guess the lines for week number 14 of college football. It's rivalry week, so beware of the dogs. The underdog is howling, as in the words of one Mr. Brent Musburger. So without further ado, here we go. We're going to start off with tomorrow. We have 2 games in the action. First, you have Ohio at Akron. I have Ohio favored by 17.5. Ohio is favored by 27.5, so I'm 10 points off there. Wow. Western Michigan at Northern Illinois. I have Western by 3. It's Western by 7. Ole Miss is at Mississippi State. I have the Bulldogs by 2. And they're favored by 3. Texas Tech at Texas. I have Texas by 13, and it's 9. Virginia Tech at Virginia. I have the Cavs by 4.5. It's actually Hokies by 2.5. So, that's weird. Bowling Green at Buffalo. I have Buffalo by 18.5. It's 29.5. Kent State at Eastern Michigan. I have Eastern by 3.5. It's 5.5. Miami of Ohio at Ball State. I have Miami of Ohio by 4. It's actually Ball State by 2.5. So I had the wrong side. Toledo at Central. I have Central by 4.5. It's Central by 9. Iowa at Nebraska of Iowa by 5.5 at 6. So a half point off. Missouri at Arkansas. I have Missouri by 13.5. It's 11.5. Cincinnati at Memphis. I have Memphis by 3. It's Memphis by 11.5. That is ridiculously high. And now I'm talking about in the Friday slate, and then the Ole Miss and Mississippi State, the Ag Bowl, that's on Thanksgiving. So now we're talking about the Black Friday games. I just did Memphis and Cincy. Boise State at Colorado State, Boise by 15.5, 12.5. So I was 3 points off. Wazoo at Washington. I have Washington by 8.5. It's Washington by 6.5. West Virginia at TCU. I have TCU by 6. It's 12, so I was off on that one. Arkansas State at South Alabama. I have Arkansas State by 9.5, and it's 12.5. App State at Troy. I have App State by 25. It's 12. South Florida at UCF. I have UCF by 17.5. It's 25.5. Ohio State at Michigan. I have the Buckeyes by 7.5. It's 8.5. So 1 point off. Clemson at South Carolina. I have Clemson by 28. It is 25.5. So I went too high on Clemson. Georgia at Georgia Tech. I have Georgia by 21. It's Georgia by 28. So 1 touchdown more than I thought. Texas State at Coastal Carolina. I have Coastal by 3.5. It's Coastal by 7. Tulsa at East Carolina. I have ECU by 2.5. It's Tulsa by 5.5. So I had the wrong team favored. FIU at Marshall. I have Marshall by 8.5. It's 7.5. Louisville at Kentucky. This was one I was off on as well. I have Louisville by 7.5. It's Kentucky by 3. Northwestern at Illinois. I have Illinois by 16. It's 10.5. Indiana at Purdue. I have Indiana by 12.5. It's 7. Wake at Syracuse. I have Wake by 11. It's only 4.5. Middle Tennessee at Western Kentucky. I have Western by 10.5. It's 9.5. Charlotte at Old Dominion. I have Charlotte by 5.5, and it's 8.5. Wyoming at Air Force. I have Air Force by 8.5, and Air Force is only giving 10.5. So actually, it was 2 points off in the other direction. I thought that they were giving less than I thought in that one. And now we're obviously into Saturday, starting from the Ohio State-Michigan game. Liberty at New Mexico State. I have Liberty by 14, and that's what the line is. So, first correct pick of the podcast. Rice at UTEP. I have Rice -1, and it's 6.5. UNLV at Nevada by 7.5, and that's what it is. So the second correct guess on the podcast. This was a tough guess. This next one for me, Alabama at Auburn. I have Bama by 1.5 without Tua, and it's 4. So it actually opened at 3, went up to 4. Rutgers at Penn State. I have Penn State by 41.5, and it's 38.5, so 3 points off. Wisconsin at Minnesota. I have Minnesota by 3.5. It's actually Wisconsin by 2.5. What? Baylor at Kansas. I have Baylor by 26.5. It's 14. How and why is Vegas underselling Baylor? They're a good team. Connecticut at Temple. I have Temple by 27.5. It's 28.5, so 1 point off. FAU at Southern Miss. I have FAU by 5. It is FAU by 10. UTSA at Louisiana Tech. I have Tech by 18.5. It's 20.5, so 2 points off. BC at Pitt. I have Pitt by 10. It's 9.5, so a half point off. Miami at Duke. I have Miami by 6. It's 7.5, so a point and a half off. Maryland at Sparty. I have Sparty by 8. It's actually a whopping 21. That's crazy. That is how fallen off Maryland has been. Oregon State at Oregon. I have Oregon by 24.5, and it's 18. Notre Dame at Stanford. I have Dame by 17. It's 14. Atlanta at SMU. I have SMU by 7.5, and it's 4. Vandy at Tennessee. I have Tennessee by 15.5, and it's 21.5. UAB at North Texas. I have UAB by 6. It's North Texas by 1.5. Utah State at New Mexico. I have Utah State by 15.5, and it's 13. Georgia State at Georgia Southern. I have State by 2.5. It's actually Southern by 7.5. A&M at LSU. I have LSU by 24. It's 17, so I went high there. Iowa State at Kansas State. I have Kansas State by 3. It's actually Iowa State by 3.5. Navy at Houston. I have Navy by 10.5, and it's 7.5, so it's lower than I expected there. North Carolina at NC State. I have Carolina by 1.5, and it's Carolina by 8. Colorado at Utah. I have Utah by 17. It's actually a whopping 28.5. Florida State at Florida. I have Florida by 9.5, and it's 17. UM Monroe at Louisiana. I have Louisiana by 17.5. It's 21. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. I have Oklahoma by 6.5. It's actually 12.5. BYU at San Diego State. I have San Diego State by 6, and it's actually BYU by 2.5. Arizona at Arizona State. I have Arizona State by 11.5. It's 12.5. Cal at UCLA. I have UCLA by 2. It's 2.5. Fresno at San Jose State. I have Fresno by 2.5, and that's what the line is. And that is my third correct guess of the podcast. And then Army at Hawaii. If Hawaii by 16.5, it's only 3.5. So I was way off this week. This was probably my worst week of picking, probably since the first week. The toughest ones to peg are always week 1, rivalry week, and the bowls, like those regular bowl games. Week 2 is kind of tough too, and in week 3, week 4 is when you really start to get the hang of the game. Before I go to best bet, quick baseball trade. The Yankees traded away Nestor Cortez, who was a post opener for them whenever Chad Green opened games. He would come in and do some innings, and he was a little up and down. They just traded him to Seattle for international money. So Yankees are dumping some contracts away and mediocre pitchers. So wonder what this leads to them. Maybe the international money is an asset and a possible trade for somebody, or you're trying to get money to potentially go after Garrett Cole or Steven Strasburg. So a very interesting little trade there by the New York Yankees. And obviously I did my baseball predictions podcast last week, and I probably should have done it before Thursday because I had Yasmani Grandal not signing with the White Sox. I had him signing somewhere else, and he ended up going to the White Sox, and that kind of messed everything up. So I had to redo some of my predictions because of that. All right, now my best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. some interesting stuff to play around with here. Gonna stick with the college basketball money line parlay because those have really been very helpful to me. I'm gonna go with Western Kentucky, but I don't feel good about it. I'm gonna take Michigan State over Virginia Tech, Cincinnati over Valpo, Ohio State over Kent State, Tennessee over Chattanooga. We'll go with Vandy over Southeast Louisiana. I don't feel good about that one, though. Omaha over Southern. Austin Peay over South Carolina State. We'll take Indiana over Louisiana Tech. We'll go with Auburn over New Mexico. San Diego State over Tennessee State. And I have one more spot open. So we'll go to the NBA. And we will grab the Miami Heat over the Charlotte Hornets. I feel like that's the biggest lock tonight in terms of a, a favorite. So, laying $1, payout of, it's a free wager, actually, that was offered, free $1. So payout's $1.87, so a cute, short little best bet full of basketball. So tomorrow recap Monday Night Football, college basketball, college football, NBA and NHL college football. We'll look ahead to tomorrow night and pick those two action games, bowl projections, guess the lines for Week 13 of the NFL, including the Thanksgiving games, and any other news that happens in the world of sports. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.